Hello, gorgeous ladies. It is Camille here from prioritizelove.com. And I am super excited to have a special guest today for the interview series, Successful Women in Love, How to Have the Cake and Eat It Too. Soochen, welcome on the call.
Thank you. Thank you, Camille. Lovely to be here.
Now, for those of you who haven't met Soochen, Soochen is a joy expert. Her website is happypositivesuccessful.com. And she is very, very passionate about, Soochen, you're very passionate about what you do. So first of all, I'd love to hear from you in your words, what makes you so passionate about what you actually do? And tell us a little bit more about what you do and how it all works.
Sure, absolutely. So I help passionate, motivated, and spiritual women business owners who lack self-confidence in any area of their life to unlock that best 100% confident self so that they can live the life of their dreams as the unlimited and unstoppable version of them. And I'm so passionate about this work because I myself kind of suffered from a lack of self-confidence, not your dictionary per se definition, because when people look at me, they kind of say, oh, you don't look like somebody who suffered from lack of self-confidence. And so, no, technically I wasn't. I was actually a very confident person, but only because of what happened to me when I was young, when I was about 5 years old. And this was comparing myself to my younger sister because my parents treated her differently. And when you're 5, you don't really know much better and you just make your own conclusions.
Right. Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, maybe because they're treating her so relaxed or so gentle, maybe she's special and I'm not. And that really was how it started in terms of that so-called lack of self-confidence, feeling that I wasn't good enough. Maybe my sister was better than me. And it felt terrible, obviously, but I tried to put it aside because I kind of thought, oh, what a terrible thing to think as well. So I tried to suppress it and still managed to be a winner, most of my life, going through high school, university, business, and all of that. But it wasn't until in my later years because I was looking after the family business and my sister came back to help because it looked like it was hitting a ceiling, that my jealousy or resentment was kind of triggered again.
Right.
And so when it was triggered, I kind of thought, oh, hang on, what's going on? Because my position or my position in the eyes of my mum and dad, because I was number one, was kind of questioned or rocked. And so I didn't like that at all. And, in hindsight, when you think about it, when you have to learn from someone, it really doesn't mean anything at all. It doesn't mean you're less. I know that there are many women out there who do feel less when they feel they don't know the answers or they don't know everything. But it doesn't really mean that you're anything less. It just means you need to learn. That's all it really means.
Absolutely. And I love the point you're making about, you sort of compared yourself, or as a 5-year-old, maybe I'm not as special or not as worthy as her, the conclusions that you would have made. And I think as driven alpha females, we do sometimes very much compare ourselves to other women and like, oh, well, she seems to have it so much easier in relationships, or she seems to, that sort of that tendency to compare can still really be a limiting pattern that we sort of play out. So in regards to self-confidence, is it your take that once we're truly confident from the inside out, that comparison just doesn't exist anymore, or will we still sometimes get triggered? What's your take on that?
That's a very good question. So yes, the core of my work really, and that's what I'm so passionate about, is I realized after kind of, hitting rock bottom, because I acted on very destructive behaviors towards my sister, my mom and dad. I left the family business, and I only had $200 back in my bank account. I couldn't work. I was very, very sick. And bring myself back up and rebuilding all areas of my life, I discovered that pretty much it was all about me. When I kind of understood, hang on, nobody thought I was less. It was actually me. I thought I was less. I thought that I had a lot of inner work I had to do to kind of reflect and question myself, well, where do I think I'm less and what should be the better thing to think? So yeah, so from there, then that's why I feel that it's such a critical piece. And I say this to my women all the time, that you are the critical piece, right? So, and you are the one that when you change yourself or when you see yourself differently, everything in your life changes naturally as a result.
Amazing.
You don't need to be rushing around trying to make other people do what you want to do. You just change yourself, feel good within yourself, and a lot of things actually gets much easier. I wouldn't say that you won't get triggered again forever for the rest of your life, but when you do, you will kind of go, oh, hang on, oh, that's right, I remember. No, doesn't apply anymore, and it's
I love
easier
that.
to let it go. Yeah, I wouldn't say that you would never get triggered.
We're still human, but what you're saying is like we will then have the tools to go, okay, that's right, that's old story. I can now empower myself again in this moment and not create a whole story about it that will take 3 weeks to snap out of, right?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yes.
I love that. So such important work that you're doing. So because I very much specialize in helping women in regards to finding a great life partner. I know you've got a bit of an interesting story there too. So if you don't mind sharing, what was at the time before you attracted your amazing man, what were your challenges?
Yes.
What helped you in then, turning things around?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So, as like any other young woman, I had my dreams of meeting, yeah, an amazing man, my Prince Charming, and obviously, had ideas of fairy tales and how it was meant to be, and all of that. I
Yeah.
definitely had my fair dose of that. And it was interesting or different for me because I come from an Asian background, as you can understand. And my mum and dad, whilst they said, oh, look for someone that you really love, they couldn't help it. They did put their kind of perspective in on it to say, oh, if you find someone who is the same culture, has the same religion, it makes the marriage much easier. And, I kind of went, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yes. But deep down, I just found as I was growing up that I wasn't attracted to Chinese men at all. In fact, they had so many things about them as men that I find really unattractive. And I kind of was in a conflict position because I'm thinking, hang on, but mum and dad said that to have a good marriage or easier marriage, you need to find someone who has the same culture, same religion. So technically that should be where I should be looking. So I think I spent many years from my 20s, 20 up to 25, kind of in that search around the Chinese community area, but it just didn't work. It just didn't work. As a person, as an independent person, I wasn't someone who was easily subservient, because like some Asian men prefer their women to be very obedient and kind of subservient, and I wasn't that. I was somebody who was more outspoken, and if something wasn't right, I had to say it. So I felt the conflict, but I didn't know what to do about it. And it was funny because my previous career, I was a fashion designer. And as a fashion designer, in your degree, you were surrounded by women, and you had the odd man who happened to be gay. So there wasn't really much of a male
Not much of
circle.
Yeah.
That I could kind of search. So I couldn't find that person, but I certainly had this problem. And then obviously my mom, again, couldn't help herself, but kind of said, oh, I'm kind of worried you haven't found anybody yet. And mom says, oh, I feel a bit guilty that I haven't done my part as mom to kind of find you someone. So all these kind of conversations, just part of my environment. So I knew there was something I needed to do about it, but at the same time, I also felt that it wasn't something I could rush into it. So that was the dilemma. I haven't got somebody, couldn't really rush it, but what to do because I don't know how to find that person. So I mentioned to you in our previous conversation, so it kind of ended up being, into some really kind of crazy person behavior when I will walk down the street and look at every male that walked past and kind of go, oh, hang on, are you the one? Maybe you're the one, you know, because I just had no idea how to go about that whole thing. So then what happened was then I kind of, you know, along the way as you progressed to about, what was I, 35? Yeah. So, you know, so from 20s to 35 of this searching and going round and round in circles and just kind of feeling like, what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with me, but something must be wrong because it's not working, but I don't know what to do about it. And that's why I think that it's so important, the work that you're doing, that you can kind of connect the dots and help women to have a clear path of getting from where they are at to where they want to be. Because I was just kind of fumbling around, you know, bumping my head and kind of testing and experimenting. So it all kind of came together when I kind of thought to myself, because I kept hearing myself say to me that, oh, I want somebody to love me for me. That's who I want. I want them to love me for me. And I kind of thought, hang on, if I want someone to love me for me, do I love myself for me? I was kind of thinking, you know, so I was kind of reflecting on that whole topic of the idea of a love match or soulmate, that technically a love match is somebody who is pretty much matched to you. So if they're matched to you, but you don't really like you, yeah, then that match comes along. Even if he's right in front of you, you wouldn't know he was that, because he would show you all the things that you didn't like about yourself, you know, in which case he could be the best mate, but you just said, I'm sorry, you're not the one, because obviously internally you're kind of not liking what is about you.
Got it.
Yeah, so that was when I kind of thought, okay, so it's not about him, as we always say, it's not about everybody else, it's about
the
you.
outside world.
Yeah, exactly, it's about you. So I kind of thought, all right then, so in that case, I'm going to start writing down everything that I love about me, because if I love that about me, then I will be able to see what I'm attracting, because when that person shows me that, then I'm like going, oh, I'm on the right track. He is showing up as the right person. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, so that's when I started writing, and we call it, I guess, in our line of work, you say affirmations, or I call it positive intentions in my program. So I started to write down what I love about myself. And I kind of thought, well, if I love to dance, maybe he would love to dance too. And maybe the way that I'm going to find him is to continue to do what I love and what I enjoy. And so one of the things I loved doing was salsa dancing. That's what I love to do. And I would go to group dancing classes at the Pump House back then in Sydney, in Darling Harbour. And that's what I did. I just went to dance. And that was how I met my then, yeah, the man, and then now he's my husband. And it was funny because probably a year down the track after we were going out, I went back and looked at the things that I wrote down about what I wanted, and that person being like what I loved about myself, and he was the same. He was exactly every single thing that I wrote. It was really kind of bizarre in a weird way, but is really, that's the power of, you know, writing down what it is that you want, but kind of doing that inner work, and that's really how it came about.
And I love that you share that, because if we just do the intention setting without sort of doing any self-reflection, then that, of course, then that's a big missing piece. But you really looked at yourself and went, okay, who do I need to be to attract him, and what do I really love about myself, and really strengthening that sense of self and sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that worked beautifully. And you're in business together as well, I believe, and or you're very much on the same page.
Yes. Yeah, we are. So he's a pastry chef, and so he's good in the kitchen and making cakes and pastries. And I'm good at, yeah. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, no, I think you just lost me. Yeah, so I'm saying, like, you very much, you joined forces, and you're creating a great future together, and you're very much on the same page.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. That's exactly what we're doing. And I think it wouldn't have been possible if I didn't do that work in the outset. to attract the right person who has the best potential to kind of be matched to me.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
So my next question is, you're a woman on a mission. You've created a great business, but you continue to build a bigger empire, right? You're not, you have big dreams. You're creating a big future for yourself as well as together with your husband. So what do you believe is the key of having your own, having the cake and eating it too, like you being in that zone of making things happen, achieving things, but still having a really loving and passionate relationship? How do you keep that in nice harmony? What helps you personally, do you think?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because I think there are lots of I hear lots of stories. Sorry, what was that?
That's it. All good, you go.
Okay. So yeah, I think there are lots of couples out there who, when they hear about me and my husband working together, often ask me, "Oh, do you guys fight? Do you, how do you do it? How do you do it?" And oh, absolutely, we fight for sure. I don't think it's not
It's
possible.
part of it.
Yeah, yes. But I just think because of the foundation that, we each did our own personal work every step of the way, when we do have fights, it gets resolved faster, right? It doesn't mean that we can avoid it. I mean, we do reduce the tendency of having unnecessary fights, because, a lot of fights happen because you misunderstand each other. And because we're kind of clear on what each person is about, and we each do our own work, I clean up myself, he cleans up his self. So then when we have fights, it's kind of reduced. But when we do come together and do have that argument, because of how we understand ourselves and each other, it gets kind of resolved or dissipated pretty quickly. But that's not to say that I never have fights. And I think in the past, when I was approaching relationships, that was one of the things I was fearful of, because I saw my mum and dad fight a lot. And my sister and I were like mediators in their relationship, trying to go, okay, what's going on, guys? Let's talk it through. So when I was going to have my own, I was thinking, oh my God, I so don't want that in my relationship. So I was really fearful of that. But I've come to see that arguments are a good way of kind of voicing how you feel, and I'm a big believer in trying to make sure it's a constructive argument.
Yes.
So there's no point in using an opportunity to hurt each other with like bringing out the past or insulting each other. It's just about, okay, we're having an argument, we're not agreeing on something, which again is not a surprise, because even though we are matched, we are still two totally different people. We come from different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes people get surprised or shocked that, oh my God, why are we fighting? Because the fact is we are completely different people. We've got different backgrounds, different everything. So it's inevitable. So it's about, when you come into an argument, then how do you look at how to resolve it? And I think that's why my work in terms of what I help women with, which is my 5-step happy, positive, successful formula, is really important, or well, it's helped me a lot in resolving arguments when we have them, is that I always look at the result, which is what we call successful, which is the outcome. So when we have a fight, for example, I always kind of focus on, okay, well, I want to get this resolved. I don't want to use it as an opportunity to start blaming him or venting, because that's obviously not a successful result. No. And when I focus on that, it does help me to it's easier, not that it's completely, it helps me to let go of my ego, because what happens is when you're in a fight, you're so wanting to be the right person, because he says a whole bunch of things that you're not happy about, and you're just so tempted to say, hang on, wait, what do you say? And you start to pick at him. But that's not going to lead to the successful outcome. So that's when I kind of train myself to calm down, to say, okay, so he's saying a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to listen. And I'm going to try not to say anything, because he's going to have a point eventually if I just listen out. So that's just the argument side. And I guess the formula pretty much helps me to be in balance with how I interact with my husband and the business, because every moment I'm focused on the outcome. It doesn't matter whether it's talking to him or talking to staff or looking after myself. Every moment is all about focus on the successful result. So in that way, I find that I am able to establish balance throughout.
Really, it's such a simple principle, but very powerful. So it's about always asking. I guess that's what I'm guessing you're asking yourself. What's my desired outcome here, and what do I need to do to reach that? So taking the emotion out of it, or the overwhelm, or the drama, and always focusing. Okay, what is the desired outcome, and how can we make sure that happens, both in your relationship and the business?
Absolutely.
I guess there's more to it, but that's the one key point that you've just shared.
Because I think it's easy for people to lose sight of what it is that they want, and this is what I get my women in my campus to always ask themselves, because it's easy to get distracted with, oh, I should do this, or he said, or you want. Well, let's align the right emotion and the positive thought to go along with that result, so that it's constructive and we make it happen. And that's why it helps. I find that with my students, it helps to cut out a lot of the noise, and it helps to cut out a lot of the talk that we have, that we've developed from other people's, and because we are inundated with other people's voices in our head as well. So when we kind of focus in on the result, I find that it cuts that all out and makes it very focused.
Beautiful. Yeah, such a relief, because it's such a waste of energy to be caught up in that negative self-talk and that overwhelm and the emotional drama, all of those things. So I'm aware of time. So I'd love you to share. I know you've got a little freebie for our listeners who might want to get a taste of what you do, and I'll be sharing the link. The link will be underneath this video, this interview.
Yes. So the way that they can get deeper into what I do is...
You go. I can still hear you.
Yeah, so the way that they can get deeper into what I do is through what I call the Yes You Can, Yes You're More Than Enough blueprint. So it pretty much is a condensed version of what I do with all my women on my campus, where it delves deeper into the 3 keys to unlock their best 100% confident self, which looks at their thoughts, their emotions, and their results. It comes with the video trainings to help them get the most out of those 3 steps. And then later on, they are invited to my educational webinar, where I kind of roll everything out and give them a taste of what I teach on my campus. Yeah.
I love that. It sounds amazing. And I love the thing, yes, you can, because of course, yes, you can, right?
Yes.
Yes, we can. And yes, so such a great message and such great work that you do. And of course, there's so much more that we could dive into, but I think it was, I always like to, keep the videos fairly short. And of course, for anyone who'd like to find out more about you, definitely opt in for that great freebie, and also of course check you out online. And is there one more piece of advice that you could give women when it comes to, can we really have it all? And along the lines of yes you can, like, is there like a one more piece of wisdom that you'd like to share for women who might be a little bit doubtful about, well, maybe I can't reach my goals, maybe I can't have this thriving business and a great relationship? What would you say to her?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I would say that I used to think that there was a limit to how many people could get the great life. You know, I used to think that. I used to think, and I used to think that, you know, my sister was one of the select few. You know, there was a list, you know, maybe the top 100 or maybe the top 10, and I wasn't on that list. I used to think that. Yeah. But through my journey, I learned that no, everyone is on that list. It's just that there are lots of things we didn't understand. We didn't understand how the universe worked. We didn't understand that we're all actually spirits here, you know, on a human adventure to discover the human pleasures. So we're actually spirits, so we're actually unlimited beings. So there's so many things we didn't understand that makes us think we are excluded, you know, like, and by thinking those ideas or those negative ideas, we exclude ourselves. Not that anyone or the universe or, you know, source or whatever is excluding you. And that's what I've learned. So when I kind of realized that, I thought, well, then if I'm not excluded, then I'm going to go about learning everything to help me to be on that list. Yeah. And everything has come to pass to be exactly as I thought. Yeah.
Amazing. So in a nutshell, yes, you can. Yes, you are on that list. It's just about finding the missing pieces and making it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
beautiful, powerful message. So thank you again for being here and during this interview and sharing your words of wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love your energy. I love your passion, and you've got that real, you've created this system that really works, that has got absolute clarity, and it's very, very simple, very clear, but very, very powerful.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you so much for being sharing with me your space, and yeah, I admire what you do as well, because it's such, as I said before, such a needed thing. And since you've got the roadmap for women to kind of lead them and you connect the dots for them, I think it will be a blessing, because every woman or every man really is looking for their love, you know, and sometimes they get a bit lost along the way, and maybe they just kind of grab someone, which is unfortunate. But I hopefully with you being there as their guide, you can kind of make it much easier, much faster.
Yeah, and and a more enjoyable, more empowered journey as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, kudos to you for what you do, because it's much needed.
Thank you so much, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Camille. Thank you.
Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Bye.